Today we will be discussing the impact of D.W. Griffith's The Birth of a Nation, specifically how it has impacted lost cause sentiments throughout the United States, while also paving the way for modern cinematography. To start, it's important to note that The Lost Cause is an interpretation of the American Civil War that seeks to present the war from the perspective of Confederates and in the best possible terms, generally stating that the war was fought purely over the issue of states' rights and Southern ideology instead of slavery. On February 8, 1915, D.W. Griffith released his top-selling film, The Birth of a Nation, an adaptation of the novel The Klansman, a historical romance of the Ku Klux Klan, written by Thomas Dixon Jr. in 1905. The film is considered to be the most prominent piece of lost cause propaganda ever produced, depicting the Ku Klux Klan as saviors of Piedmont, South Carolina, against the freed slaves of the area and northern carpetbaggers, who were commonly perceived as opportunistic northerners that came to the southern states after the American Civil War in hopes of exploiting the local populace for their own financial, political, or social gain. At the time of its production, The Birth of a Nation was the first of its kind. It was the longest and most profitable film ever produced. Despite the controversy that surrounds it, The Birth of a Nation became the first film to earn more than $10 million, the equivalent of nearly $300 million today, with a showing time of nearly 3 hours. The Birth of a Nation is commonly considered as the first blockbuster film produced, paving the way for future feature films, such as Gone with the Wind and The Big Parade. The film was the first to introduce several new techniques, such as fading in and dissolving effects. This was done by adjusting the aperture and creating new lenses that allowed for a broader range of lighting. Without modern electric lighting, Griffith relied on mirrors and daytime shooting to provide ample lighting for indoor scenes, something that had not been done before. Additionally, Griffith relied heavily on automobiles to capture scenes of Klansmen riding on their horses, and for this, new techniques were created to film moving subjects. Although the film has had a positive impact on the film industry by being cutting edge for its day and age, it's important to also address its impact on the lost cause movement. While the film is split into 2 scenes due to its length, the second scene draws the most interest when debating its impact on the lost cause due to its blatant racist depiction of African Americans. Griffith portrays the northern carpetbaggers and the freed slaves as enemies of Southern traditions and culture, depicting the whites that live in Piedmont, South Carolina, as victims of the aggression of freed slaves who have gained rights and freedom through the appointment of Silas Lynch, South Carolina's lieutenant governor, who is portrayed as evil from the start of Part 2 due to his mixed-race heritage. In response to Election Day, in which Lynch's black supremacists intimidated the whites on the streets, and in the South Carolina legislature, the Ku Klux Klan was born. Southern women secretly make hundreds of thousands of uniforms bearing a woven St. Andrew's cross, and the Night Riders start a new war against Lynch's militia. In the end, the Klan saves Stoneman, who helped put Lynch in power, and also puts down the black militia that had overrun Piedmont, depicting the Klan as heroic saviors of the South, who rightfully bring peace back to the oppressed Southern whites under the control of the black militia. The legacy of The Lost Cause continues to shape Southern culture, politics, and memory. Monuments, statues, and symbols glorifying Confederate leaders and the Confederate cause dot the Southern landscape, serving as reminders of this romanticized past. Efforts to remove or contextualize these symbols have sparked heated debates, reflecting deep-seated divisions over the interpretation of history and the meaning of Southern identity. Moreover, the lost cause ideology has influenced education curricula, shaping how the Civil War and Reconstruction are taught in Southern schools. By perpetuating myths of a noble and just Confederacy, the Lost Cause movement has contributed to the persistence of racial inequalities and hindered reconciliation in the South. While the Civil War is a complicated topic, the impact of the lost cause has made it entirely too difficult for those not willing to do any of their own research on it. For this very reason, preserving these films is important for future generations. Films, such as The Birth of a Nation, should be used to teach future generations about the lost cause, urging viewers to critically analyze the symbolism throughout the film to understand its influence on society and not to take anything at face value.